On June 6, 1099, after 3 arduous years marked by famine, plagues, and desertions, the Crusaders finally glimpsed the rich domes and high towers of Jerusalem on the horizon. For many, the sight was overwhelming, evoking tears of disbelief and joy. Their extraordinary journey, inspired by Pope Urban II's call to arms, had reached its climax. The Siege of Jerusalem, a pivotal event that would heavily influence medieval European history, was about to commence. The path to Jerusalem had been fraught with challenges. The First Crusade began in 1096, following Pope Urban II's impassioned plea at the Council of Clermont in 1095. Urban's call for a holy war to reclaim Jerusalem from Muslim control resonated deeply across Europe. Thousands of knights, nobles, and commoners answered the call, leaving their homes and embarking on a perilous journey to the Holy Land. In the weeks leading up to the siege, the Crusaders had experienced a miraculous victory over a Turkish relief force near Antioch. The Siege of Antioch, which lasted from October 1097 to June 1098, was one of the most grueling and significant battles of the First Crusade. The city of Antioch, with its formidable walls and strategic location, was a crucial objective for the Crusaders. Capturing it would secure a vital supply line and provide a base for further operations in the region. The siege was marked by extreme hardship. The Crusaders faced severe shortages of food and water, and many succumbed to disease. Morale plummeted, and desertions were common. Despite these challenges, the Crusaders managed to breach the city's walls in June 1098, thanks in part to the treachery of an Armenian guard who opened a gate to the besiegers. However, their victory was short-lived. Shortly after capturing Antioch, the Crusaders found themselves besieged by a large Muslim army led by Kerboga of Mosul. Trapped within the city, they faced the prospect of annihilation. In this desperate situation, a priest named Peter Bartholomew claimed to have discovered the Holy Lance, the spear that had pierced Christ's side, in the city's cathedral. This relic boosted the Crusaders' morale, and they launched a daring sortie against Kerboga's forces. Against all odds, they defeated the besieging army, securing their hold on Antioch. Despite their victory, the months following the capture of Antioch were fraught with challenges. The Crusaders lingered in the city, beset by several factors. The harsh summer heat made marching through the arid lands south of Antioch unappealing, especially for the poor participants who would suffer the most. Additionally, a plague descended on the city, weakening Count Raymond's health and claiming the life of the papal legate, Adhemar le Puy. Adhemar's death was a significant blow, as the cool-headed bishop often mediated the endless quarrels between the Frankish lords. The loss of Adhemar undermined the already fragile cooperation among the Crusader leaders, particularly between Raymond and Bohemond, who still quarreled over the fate of Antioch. Bohemond, having titled himself Prince of Antioch and secured the citadel, refused to continue the expedition. Despite Raymond's efforts to convince him to abandon his personal ambitions, including appealing to Emperor Alexios to reclaim the city, Bohemond remained resolute. The Crusades stalled, with only the notable capture of Marat in December breaking the months of inactivity. Unrest grew among the lower-ranked knights and officers, who threatened to tear down the walls of Antioch if the crusade did not resume. This pressure forced Raymond and Godfrey to march out in mid-January 1099, leaving Bohemond free to establish his new domain. As the Crusaders marched south along the coast, they encountered little resistance. Many petty emirs chose to pay tribute rather than fight, understanding that the Crusaders' primary goal was to reclaim Jerusalem from Muslim hands, not total conquest. When the Latin army besieged Antioch in 1098, the Fatimid Caliphate of Egypt had captured Jerusalem and its surroundings. Consequently, the Seljuk Turks, at war with the Fatimids, showed little interest in stopping the Crusaders. After 5 relatively easy months traveling through Palestine, the Crusaders reached the port city of Jaffa. From there, they turned inland towards Jerusalem. News of a Fatimid army assembling in Egypt reached them, alongside reports of wells being buried or poisoned, and many trees cut down. Despite the inhospitable conditions, the threat of a relief force, and the blistering summer heat, the Crusaders pressed on, driven by the proximity of their ultimate goal. The journey from Antioch to Jerusalem was not without its own hardships. The Crusaders faced constant shortages of food and water, and the harsh desert environment took its toll. They also had to contend with the threat of ambushes from local Muslim forces. Nevertheless, their determination never wavered. They were driven by a profound sense of religious duty and the promise of eternal salvation. The Siege of Jerusalem begins. On June 7, 1099, nearly 2 years after departing Constantinople, the Crusaders reached Jerusalem and set up camps around its walls. Given the city's size, a full-fledged siege was impossible, so they divided their forces. Raymond camped on the southern wall, while Godfrey and the Normans took the northern part. Despite significant losses over the past 2 years, The Latin army still numbered around 1,300 knights and 12,000 infantry, posing a serious threat to Jerusalem. The Fatimid governor Iftikhar ad-Dawla had anticipated their arrival and prepared accordingly. The city was well supplied and defended, with a few hundred skilled light horsemen at his command to harass the invaders. To prevent a repeat of Antioch's fall due to treachery, he expelled all Christians from the city. Additionally, the Fatimids had rendered many local food and water sources unusable, forcing the Crusaders to forage at considerable distances, risking attacks from ad-Dawla's cavalry. Facing dwindling supplies and the threat of an Egyptian relief force, the Crusader leaders decided to storm the walls on June 13th, a week into the siege. Lacking adequate siege equipment, with only one scaling ladder, the attack was doomed to fail. The defenders easily repelled the assault, resulting in significant Crusader casualties. The failed assault highlighted the need for a new strategy. The Crusaders realized that they needed proper siege equipment to breach the city's formidable defenses. Their morale was further bolstered by reports of visions and divine signs. One of Raymond's priests claimed to have seen a vision of the deceased Bishop Adamar, who instructed the Crusaders to fast, do penance, and lead a barefoot procession around the walls to ensure Jerusalem's fall. In an act of desperation or extreme piety, the Crusaders followed these instructions, creating a puzzling sight for the Muslim defenders. Around this time, several Genoese galleys under merchant Guglielmo Embriaco arrived at Jaffa's harbor, bringing much-needed building materials and skilled woodworkers. The ships were dismantled and the sailors joined the siege effort. Praising God for this unexpected aid, the Crusaders constructed 2 siege towers, positioning them near the northern and southern parts of the wall. The arrival of the Genoese was a turning point in the siege. The materials they brought allowed the Crusaders to construct proper siege engines, including battering rams and siege towers. These new additions significantly boosted the Crusaders' chances of breaching Jerusalem's defenses. The Genoese craftsmen worked tirelessly, constructing the siege towers with remarkable speed. On July 13th, another assault began. Raymond led the attack on the southern wall, while Godfrey and the Normans focused on the northern perimeter. The battle raged fiercely, with both sides suffering heavy losses. During the night, Godfrey secretly moved the northern siege tower to a less defended part of the wall near the Flowers Gate. The repositioning of the siege tower was a brilliant tactical move. By targeting a weaker section of the wall, Godfrey increased the chances of a successful breach. The next day saw relentless fighting as the Crusaders continued their assault. Despite the burning of Raymond's siege tower and the collapse of his attack, Godfrey's forces persevered. After a full day and night of combat, they breached the northern wall, opening the gate for the Crusaders to flood into the city. The entry into Jerusalem was marked by fierce fighting. Crusaders clashed with the city's defenders in the streets and alleys. The defenders of the southern wall, now seeing the Crusaders inside the city, joined the fray. Allowing Raymond's troops to break through their gates, the city's defense collapsed quickly under the onslaught. The Crusaders began an indiscriminate slaughter of the Jewish and Muslim population, with little effort made by the princes to restrain their men from looting and killing. Some citizens sought refuge in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, initially guarded by Bohemon's nephew Tancred. However, once he was occupied elsewhere, the bloodbath reached the mosque as well. The Fatimid governor, Iftikhar ad-Dawla, surrendered to Raymond and was granted safe passage south. Yet few others had the opportunity to surrender directly to the noble Frankish lords. The exact number of casualties is unknown, but the streets of Jerusalem were awash with blood, and the brutality of the capture shocked even contemporary chroniclers. The capture of Jerusalem was a monumental event. For the Crusaders, it was the fulfillment of a divine mission. They had endured immense hardships, faced insurmountable odds, and triumphed. The sight of the holy city, now under Christian control, was a powerful symbol of their faith and determination. The victory was celebrated with prayers and thanksgiving, as the Crusaders gave credit to God for their success. Almost 4 years had passed since Pope Urban II ignited the idea of a crusade to reclaim the Holy Land. The Crusaders had achieved their ultimate goal, but the story did not end there. A formidable Fatimid army, commanded by Vizier Al-Afdal, was already marching through Sinai, determined to challenge the Crusaders and retake Jerusalem. The Crusaders' victory in Jerusalem marked a turning point in medieval history, shaping the religious, political, and cultural landscape of both Europe and the Middle East. The memory of the First Crusade and its dramatic conclusion would resonate through the centuries, influencing subsequent crusades and the ongoing conflict between Christian and Muslim forces in the region. In the immediate aftermath of the capture, the Crusaders set about consolidating their hold on Jerusalem and the surrounding territories. Godfrey of Bouillon was elected as the ruler of Jerusalem, taking the title Defender of the Holy Sepulchre, rather than king, in a gesture of humility and reverence for the city's sacred status. Efforts were made to fortify the city's defenses, repair damaged structures, and establish a stable administration. The Crusaders also sought to secure their position in the broader region. They launched military expeditions to capture strategic locations, including the port city of Ascalon. These efforts were crucial in maintaining supply lines and ensuring the continued flow of reinforcements and resources from Europe. The Battle of Ascalon, fought in August 1099, was the final major engagement of the First Crusade. The Fatimid Vizier Al-Afdal had assembled a large army to retake Jerusalem. The Crusaders, aware of the approaching threat, decided to confront the Fatimid forces before they could launch an assault on the city. The Crusader army, led by Godfrey of Bouillon, Raymond of Toulouse, and Robert of Normandy, marched towards Ascalon. They encountered the Fatimid army near the city and engaged them in a fierce battle. Despite being outnumbered, the Crusaders fought with determination and were ultimately victorious. The Fatimid army was routed, and the threat to Jerusalem was temporarily neutralized. The victory at Ascalon solidified the Crusaders' hold on Jerusalem and marked the end of the First Crusade. The Crusaders returned to Jerusalem in triumph, bringing with them spoils of war and prisoners. The success of the crusade was celebrated with great fervor, and the leaders of the expedition were hailed as heroes. Following the capture of Jerusalem and the victory at Ascalon, the Crusaders began to establish their presence in the Holy Land. The Kingdom of Jerusalem was formally established, with Godfrey of Bouillon as its first ruler. Other Crusader states, including the County of Edessa, the Principality of Antioch, and the County of Tripoli, were also founded, creating a network of Latin Christian territories in the Levant. The establishment of these Crusader states marked the beginning of a new era in the history of the region. The Latin rulers sought to consolidate their power, secure their borders, and establish stable governance. They faced numerous challenges, including resistance from local Muslim populations, internal disputes among the Crusader leaders, and the constant threat of external invasion. The administration of the Crusader states was characterized by a blend of European feudal practices and local customs. The rulers granted fiefs to their loyal followers, established legal codes, and built fortifications to protect their territories. They also sought to foster trade and economic development, recognizing the importance of maintaining a stable and prosperous society. We will discuss the establishment of the Crusader states in our next video, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button. The First Crusade had a profound and lasting impact on both Europe and the Middle East. It marked the beginning of a series of crusading expeditions that would continue for centuries, shaping the course of medieval history. The establishment of the Crusader states in the Levant created a new political and cultural landscape, fostering interactions and exchanges between different civilizations. For Europe, the Crusade brought about significant changes. It enhanced the power and prestige of the papacy, solidified the concept of holy war, and inspired a wave of religious fervor. The Crusade also had economic implications, stimulating trade and commerce between Europe and the Eastern Mediterranean. The influx of wealth and resources from the Crusader states contributed to the economic development of European cities and regions. In the Middle East, the Crusade had a profound impact on the Muslim world. The loss of Jerusalem and the establishment of the Crusader states were seen as a major affront, leading to a renewed sense of unity and determination among Muslim rulers. The ensuing centuries witnessed a series of conflicts, alliances, and power struggles as both sides sought to assert their dominance in the region. The cultural and intellectual exchanges that occurred as a result of the Crusades also left a lasting legacy. European crusaders brought back knowledge, ideas, and technologies from the East, contributing to the intellectual and cultural renaissance of medieval Europe. The interactions between different cultures fostered a greater understanding and appreciation of the diversity of human civilization. The memory of the First Crusade and its dramatic events continued to resonate through the centuries. Chroniclers and historians documented the Crusade in vivid detail, often embellishing the narratives with elements of heroism and divine intervention. The stories of the Crusaders' bravery, the miraculous discoveries, and the ultimate triumph in Jerusalem became integral parts of medieval European literature and culture. The legacy of the First Crusade also influenced subsequent generations of crusaders. The successes and failures of the initial expedition provided valuable lessons for future crusades. The notion of a holy war to reclaim sacred lands remained a powerful and enduring concept, inspiring countless individuals to take up the cross and embark on their own crusading journeys.